Hey everyone, it's Nicole, and today I'm doing a proper video of my van tour, going to show you a bit of the interior and the practical design of my van. I've kept everything pretty simple, so it should be stuff that you can replicate in your own van, whether it's one of the modern van builds or it's a VW bus. Hope you find this useful today. Happy to take any of your questions below, and subscribe for more if you're interested in Volkswagen Bus and surfing videos. Here's my van. It's a 1973 Transporter. It's actually a T2 model, and it was originally built out with 2 rows. Once I got the van, it was originally black and red themed, so the guy before me used it for drag racing, and so it had an interesting mechanical and aesthetic going for it. And so based off of that, I've done a lot of remodeling of the interior. I took everything down to bare metal, and then when I rebuilt everything up, I used Rust-Oleum paint. Then I put insulation. I put the pink insulation that you get for houses, and then I also put reflectives, which is the shiny stuff that's kind of a silver color. And then I use marine grade plywood for my cabinet builds as well as my closet and headliner. I also use pieces of metal. You can get long, thin pieces of metal and you can cut them into pieces to hold your headliner up. So then you also use some pop rivets, and I got a bag of them from China for my different doors to be able to hold the panels in place. The interior of the van, once I used Rust-Oleum paint, put in the insulation, the headliner, and the panels, I added laminate hardwood. The reason for the laminate hardwood is that I wanted something that I didn't have to vacuum, because having a vacuum on the road isn't very practical, or something that I could use a dust broom to get stuff out really easily, or even if I needed to, a wipe or a little rag to wipe things down. I wanted something that's very user-friendly and practical for bringing dirt and yourself and everything in and out of the van. I wanted something that I could have moisture, because I am a surfer, so that if I have a wetsuit or some salt water get in, that it's not going to get into the actual frame of the van. So I recommend laminate. Mine is a floating laminate, and so essentially I used wood glue, and underneath it I have, I believe it's a 1/2 inch of plywood, and then some dampening insulation underneath of that. So inside of the van, I've kept things pretty simple. A good thing to have is a lot of storage. And so to make sure that I had ample places for everything and not have everything spewed out all over the van all the time, I used a upcycled cabinet, which a friend, their neighbor, was getting rid of it because they redid their restroom. So it's actually a restroom vanity that they weren't using. And because it does have these 2 flappy doors, I put all sorts of stuff around it. On top of this, I actually ordered tiles from Amazon, and I think it was like 20 bucks or something, but I got a pack of Mexican tiles, and then I used grout, and I used, I think it's 1/2 inch of plywood, and then I put on this little ledge so that anything that's here won't fall off. So this ledge is actually, if you look at houses and they have like the little molding on the end, you can find it in that sort of area of the hardwoods store. So this is my main storage. This is probably the biggest storage that I have. It is essentially 2 pieces of marine grade wood, thin, and I think they're a little less than 1/4 inch, or maybe they're probably 1/4 inch, and they come in and out. The reason they're able to come in and out is you take 2 pieces after you build a frame, you nail them in, and you use a Dremel tool to get sliders for each. So this one's on the upper slider, this one's on the lower one, and then you put a little round hole here, and it makes it easy to be able to slide in and out of the van. This area ends up storing most of my cooking supplies, besides the 2-burner stove, which I keep down here most of the time, and any sort of clothing item, a lot of my gym clothes, workout clothes, you name it, anything that I can stuff inside of here so that it doesn't have to be out and about in the van. This is your practical catch-all storage. Typically I have cooking supplies on bottom. The middle is usually bins of different things like silverware, utensils, soap, cleaning stuff, and then the top layer is typically my clothing in different bags. The bags that I've been using are either reusable bags that I will keep stuff in, like so. So if I do a fresh batch of laundry and I want to put stuff together or organize stuff on outfits that I want to wear, I put them in just a reusable bag. You can also use this sort of stuff for grocery shopping, so I like to keep stuff like this around. Another thing that I have are smaller bags. I don't remember where exactly I got this, but this I can use for produce. I can also use it for smaller things that I want to put into other bags. So a lot of what I have is storage space. It's the ability to bring, pack, and compact things as I'm on the road. So in between the surf racks here, I'm hanging out. So these are actually surf racks. I originally designed them because I didn't have a roof rack, which I like to call the upstairs. And once I got the upstairs, it's just become for if I want to store surfboards in here and I'm leaving the van. But the main area that I want to talk about is your sleeping area. You want to make sure that when you're living in a van that's comfortable, because you're coming back and you're sleeping here. Like, this is your end all be all where you're getting the rest. So you want to make sure that it's the best as possible. So a lot of people I've seen, they use like different blankets, different like arrays of things. What I've done is kept it pretty simple. Another friend of mine who lived in a van before I started recommended that I just do a sleeping bag, because you don't have to worry about cleaning it as much because it's easy to clean. You can wipe it down. It's also way more compact. So I recommend that if you're starting van life and you're trying to figure out your sleeping situation, honestly, you're gonna ruin a comforter if you bring it. It's gonna get really dirty, especially if you do hiking or anything outdoors. So I recommend getting yourself a sleeping bag. I've got one like this. It's really good temperature rating, so it's got really good stuffing in it, I suppose, to keep you nice and warm. And then what I'll do is, if it's super warm, then you just lay on like the outside of it, and then it's still got the plushness to it. The bed itself I actually got from the craft store and then a friend's sewing machine, essentially. So this is actually recycled sailcloth from a laser sail, which is a type of small sailboat. And so I was able to get my hands on an old sail, and then I used 4-inch memory foam, which I picked up from a craft store. Then underneath this is a mount. So this actually holds up. So this actually comes up and becomes essentially a seat, but I have way too much stuff under here, so I can't pull it up all the way right now. But most of the time, practically living in a van, you're probably not going to use it as a couch so much. If you're using it as like a weekender or a camper or something, I definitely used to use it, the couch, like way more. But practically living in a van, I just leave it down all the time, especially since I use the underneath for a lot of like dry food storage. And I just have 2 pillows. I also found them, I think they were from a craft store as well. And then I also have a blanket. And this blanket is like good for just layering. Like if I'm driving and it gets cold, because this is a metal bus, and even though I have insulation, it doesn't work the best, then I can lay this across my lap and it helps keep me a little bit warmer. Just a typical throw blanket that you can get from like a TJ Maxx, Marshalls, maybe you could find it on Amazon. I also store a heavy jacket back here. That way whenever it gets cold, it's out there, but also it's not taking up a bunch of space in storage. So I leave this back here. And then the other thing that I kind of have out and about, similar to the jacket, is a changing poncho. As a surfer, this is game changer. You can use it all the time, everywhere. I even use it just if I'm out somewhere and like need to change clothes. This is easy because you don't have to actually change in the van. You can just throw this on. And also for getting in and out of your wetsuit, bathing suit, whatever, it's perfect. Got that off of Amazon a couple years ago. On the road, actually, it's up to you how much time you spend like reading or anything, but I like to have books just in case I get bored. Another thing that I like to do is to have socks laying around in different parts of the van, because it's really practical, because when you need a pair of socks and you don't want to dig through everything, or when you just worked out or you need to put on a new pair of socks because you've been wearing the same pair of socks for too long, it's good to have them like handy. So I also have them in my dashboard as well. Alright, so now that we've gone through the majority of my storage, I've got one more special storage area that I really like. Is if you have certain things that you want to hang up and keep nicer so it doesn't get all wrinkled, I have a mini closet here. Put my towels, my cutting board, my rain jacket, a dress-up jacket just in case I have any sort of job-related functions, and a couple of dresses actually stuffed within here and here. Here is a huge array of stuff. I am apparently a van hoarder when it comes to stuff because I have way too much stuff in my van, even though I've tried to minimize. And one of those things is a tap-on, tap-off light. It's like only a couple bucks at like any sort of hardware store, and you can suction them or put them with sticky surfaces to anywhere and then Velcro on and off. I also have an array of protein powders. Before starting van life a couple months ago, I ordered a bunch of protein powder online because I didn't want to pay the expensive prices at a grocery store all the time. So I just did a bulk order of protein powder and I just stuff it back here. And I have a couple along here, and then I also have some in the very back because I'm not going to have to use it all at once. I have toiletries. I have food storage. I have Rain-X, which is really good if your windshield wipers stop working. I have a book bag because if you're ever on the go for a day, this is the perfect thing to have. I also have a trash bin, which I like to keep this upside down because otherwise it's too tall and it like flies around the van. So I just keep this upside down and it saves space. Got a huge water thing, which isn't very practical, by the way. You can get one of those camper square shaped ones, which is more functional. And then I have the front of the van. In the front of the van, we have the dashboard. This is my handy dandy cooler. It is a 30-ounce Pelican. It has a lot of room for insulation. It's clean because I just cleaned it thoroughly because we're in quarantine. And the thing that I like about it is that it has a side drain. So every time that the ice melts, I can just drain it out here. You can also utilize this cooler as an extra seat. And it's pretty comfy.